Hey, so I'm recording this pretty late. The recording's gonna be kind of soft, using my nighttime voice because it's pretty late, people are sleeping, and I am petrified that I'm gonna wake someone up. And they're gonna find me doing this. And I'm gonna have to explain that I have a YouTube channel. It'll be really embarrassing. I want to preface this by saying there are still so many 2020 releases that I have not seen. Ones that I'm positive I'll love, but they won't come up here because, well, I haven't seen them. These include Minari, The Kid Detective, Date, Never Rarely, Sometimes Always, The Father, and many, many others. I watched a lot of good movies this year. Well, I watched a lot of movies I enjoyed this year. Cutting Class wasn't exactly a good movie, but must a movie be good? Is it not enough for it to be absolutely ridiculous?
I have this strange tingle all over my body. Have you ever felt my tingle?
I'm gonna try to keep this as brief as possible, so I'm gonna talk about the movies I really want to talk about, and the rest of them I'll just kind of name drop. I've sat through many year-end list videos, and sometimes I just think, yeah, this could be shorter. But the movies I'm going to talk about here are the movies that make me excited and remind me of why I love cinema so fucking much. And these are in no particular order, by the way. I'm not great at ranking things I like. I had to take my favorites off of Letterboxd because I couldn't decide if I loved Goodfellas more than Blindspotting, or if The Fits meant as much to me as Eve's Bayou, or Pueros mesmerized me as much as Confessions, or if, oh my god, you see what I mean? The 40-year-old version. This is an introspective comedy about a struggling playwright who's trying to restart her stalled career and still mourning over the death of her mother. As she approaches 40, she makes an effort to get her latest play off the ground, and she finds a new kind of inspiration in rapping. This one snuck up on me and I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was funny, it was clever, and it resonated with me in a way that very few films that I saw this year did. Rocks. Rocks has a well-known plot. If you've seen Nobody Knows or The Inevitable Defeat of Mr. and Pete, the story will seem familiar. A young girl, Rocks, returns home from school to find that her mother has gone. With no word on her return and her mother not answering her phone calls, Rocks is left to take care of herself and her little brother with very little money. Her goal is to keep the two of them together until her mom returns, but things only become more difficult. But Rocks has a tight-knit, reliable group of friends who try to aid her through it all. What can I say other than that I really loved this story. Coming-of-age stories focusing on black girls aren't the rarity they once were, but that doesn't mean I don't get super excited when one of them comes out. Rocks is the latest and one of the most empathetic of recent years. The script was written by playwright Teresa Ikoko and Claire Wilson. Ikoko has said that she wants to tell black stories that invest in black joy, and Rocks is a clear example of what she means. Even with the harsh times our main character faces, there's a levity and a love for her and her friends. Also, these are the Muslimas I want to see on screen. Take note, I'm no longer here. So most of the time the movies I fall in love with are movies that I'm expecting, you know? Like I pursue them, but like the 40-year-old version, Ya no estoy aquí crept up on me. I hadn't seen a trailer or anything. It was just there on Netflix one day and I was like, okay, I guess. And it turned out to be one of my favorite movies of the year. The story follows Ulysses, the leader of a crew that specializes in dancing to cumbia. Ulysses has a family, a mother, 2 siblings, but his true love and his true family is with this group of friends. After a tragedy, he's forced to leave Monterey and live in New York for his own protection. The movie is mainly about homesickness, the inevitability of change, and lost and found families. It's emotional, but quiet and fierce in its character study. And I just loved the fuck out of it. It's on Netflix now, so if it interests you, do check it out. Miss Juneteenth. So the most recent season of Black Mirror sucked. Some episodes had great concepts but terrible execution, and others had terrible concepts and terrible executions. There's one great thing about the season though, and it's in episode 1. Its name? Nicole Beharie. In a story that managed to bring up compelling ideas but played it too safe, Striking Vipers was a disappointment, but Nicole Beharie's performance was a revelation. So going into Channing Godfrey Peoples' film Miss Juneteenth, I already knew she was going to knock it out of the park, and somehow she surpassed my expectations. It's a gentle story about a former beauty queen who pushes her daughter into the same pageant she won in an effort to make a better life for her. It's easily one of my favorite depictions of a mother-daughter relationship, and it has a lot of heart. It was one of those movies that made me go, I really love us. Sound of Metal. When I saw Nightcrawler back in college, I had 2 thoughts. The first was, well, that escalated quickly, and the second was Riz Ahmed is amazing. He's the only reason I watched the show dead set. I know it's embarrassing to admit considering he was barely in it, but it's okay, it was a fun show. And he's also the reason I was drawn to Sound of Metal. Considering Derek C was one of the writers for the story, I figured going into it would be good. But again, my expectations were surpassed. The performances from everyone in the film are just stunning, and if you haven't seen it already, get on that shit. Beasts clawing at straws. There's this movie I saw in middle school called A Moment to Remember. It's a romance story, very sad, but that's not the point. The point is that after I saw that, I kind of had a thing for Jung Sung, and that was my motivation to watch this one. It's Kim Young-hoon's directorial debut, following a bunch of different characters who are connected by a traveling bag of money. It's reminiscent of early Guy Ritchie like Snatch and Rock and Rolla, with even darker elements. It's funny, it's fucked up, I had a good time, and it's the first time in a long time that Jung Sung has been in a movie that hasn't utterly disappointed me. So there's that. A son. I won't get too deep into this one or many of the selections from this point forward because I do want this to be quick. That being said, I saw this movie back in February and all I could say after it was, so I'm sad. And I put the trademark sign next to it, I guess, so you could know this wasn't your ordinary brand of sadness. Highly recommend it. I'm thinking of ending things. Yes, okay, I really liked this divisive fucking movie, and I know it's polarizing and weird, but when has Charlie Kaufman ever in his career made a movie that wasn't polarizing and weird? That's like his thing. Anyway, I really enjoyed this one. The way it ruminates on life and relationships in such a bizarre way had me on cloud 9 for days. Black Bear. Aubrey Plaza. Thank you. The Lodge. I guess technically this is a 2019 film, but whatever, it's my favorite Christmas movie now. It's really dark, very fucked up, but extremely satisfying in like a bleak kind of way. It's very grief begets grief. Possessor. What the fuck was that? I loved it so much. Happy Old Year. So far, Chutiman hasn't been in a movie that I haven't liked. Following up her role in Bad Genius with this gentle story about love lost and thrown away just makes me excited to see what other films she'll end up doing. Be wary of minimalism, folks. When you're decluttering, you might end up spending a lot of time with your ex. I'm Your Woman. I'm Your Woman is an exemplary movie that I'm just thankful exists. It's about a woman whose husband, a member of a powerful crime organization, betrays his partners and forces her to go on the run, leaving her life behind. Also, she has a newly adopted baby, so everything is just drastically different. There's some action sequences, some thrills, and some truly heartfelt moments. Then I have His House and Vitalina Varela. I won't go into details on those just because I feel like I'm gonna spoil them somehow, and I feel like I'm gonna do a really shitty job of explaining the appeal of Vitalina. So, yeah. Alright, that's the end. I wish I could add shows to the list, but honestly, I barely watched shows this year. Like, not new ones that I haven't seen. I rewatched Girlfriends and Moesha and The Parkers and One-on-One. I started watching Followers, didn't finish it. Rewatched New Girl. Started watching The Mess You Leave Behind, didn't finish it. Watched Dash and Lily. Shit was cute. Oh, and Defending Jacob. It was very dark. And I'm not even talking about the subject matter. It was just a dark show. I couldn't see shit. And there you have it. Fully expect this list to be adjusted once I finally see the other movies I wanted to see this year. Thank you.